You can replace the word love with God's name, because in Sunday school we learned that God is love. We can also replace love with your spouse's name. Miriam is patient, Miriam is kind. Hopefully you can at least come up with one or two experiences of those words being true. But it's even more challenging to replace love with your own name. Andy does not envy, Andy does not boast, Andy always protects. These words from God state clearly that what we should strive to be and what we should try to see in our spouse. The Bible teaches us how to love each other, and it also models how we should be in love with each other.
The book Song of Songs in the Bible speaks of courtship and love and marriage in the most tender of ways. We would like to read a little of that book because it speaks of godly marriage as being intimate and passionate. Song of Songs not only demonstrates for us how deep God's love is for each of us, but it serves as a model for the intimate relationship between a husband and wife. Imagine, if you will, a story that sounds a lot like Cinderella. A young maiden was working in the fields when a handsome young man noticed her. He introduced himself as a shepherd and won her heart. Then he asked if he could speak to her family about marriage and promised to make all the arrangements for their wedding. After that, the young woman didn't see him for months. Doubts assailed her, and nightmares caused her to wonder if she had lost her beloved.
One day a huge caravan entered the little town where the woman lived. Guarded by 60 soldiers, the entourage passed. Suddenly the king's carriage stopped right in front of the woman, and a face looked out at her and said, "How beautiful you are, my darling." It was her beloved. The shepherd was actually the king. He swept her into his arms and took her to his castle to be her wife. This is the story behind Song of Songs. It may not be at the front of our minds, but God invented love. God is love. It should not be surprising that He includes the very important theme of intimacy, sex, and marital oneness as expressed through the act of lovemaking. Scholars have always viewed the Song of Songs in the Bible as a picture of marital love as God intended it, intimate and passionate.
Several years ago, I read a great book by Kevin Leman called Sex Begins in the Kitchen. You can find it in our parish library. The premise of the book was that lovemaking should be passionate and wonderful, but it doesn't just begin and end in the bedroom. That the art of making love starts with the tiny things that a husband and wife do for each other that say, "I love you." Lehman says the best way to get his wife in a romantic mood is to sometimes help her with the dishes, to thank her for being a great mom, listen to her talk about her day, and remind her how beautiful he thinks she is, even after 30 years of marriage. That sounds a lot like the text messages I get from Andy. Lehman refers to it as the foreplay that starts in the kitchen and ends behind the bedroom door. You can see how this might be much more effective than only turning on the charm once you turn off the bedroom lights. Words of love, intimacy, and desire are shared long before the physical act. Some of you may have read The 21 Undeniable Secrets of Marriage by Alan Hunt, which St. Francis of Assisi distributed as a Christmas gift last year. The author jokes that women need a reason for sexual intimacy, while men just need a place. He concludes that the sexual intimacy happens when women are not stressed, that listening leads to emotional connection, and that connection leads to touching.
In the Song of Songs, we see King Solomon doing the same with his new bride. Listen to how he praises his wife's beauty before they even enter into sexual intimacy. "You are beautiful, my darling, as Tirzah, lovely as Jerusalem. Who is this that appears like the dawn, fair as the moon, bright as the sun, majestic as the stars in procession? How beautiful are your feet in sandals, your rounded thighs are like jewels, the handiwork of an artist. Your navel is like a rounded goblet, which never lacks mixed wine. Your breasts are like twin fawns, the young of a gazelle. Your neck is like a tower of ivory, your eyes are like the pools in Heshbon, by the gates of Bath-rabbim. Your head rises like Carmel, your hair is like draperies of purple, a king is held captive in your tresses." You see, here Solomon is courting his wife after they are married, and his words are passionate and intimate. He is romancing her without even touching her. His words alone have made her even more responsive to his needs. And even though we may use different words, God is trying to tell us that romance is important in marriage.
This romantic dance definitely takes two active partners. Not only does the wife need to be receptive to her husband's romance, she should also do the same and even initiate from time to time. And one way to do that is to always speak of her husband to others in terms that are not only complimentary, but tell him that she is proud to be his wife. Again, in the Song of Songs, we see the bride telling her friends how handsome he is. Listen to what she says about him to her friends. My lover is radiant and ruddy, outstanding among 10,000. His head is purest gold. His hair is wavy and black as a raven. This is my lover, this my friend. In this passage, while Solomon is listening, she compliments her husband by telling others what he means to her. He is her lover and friend. What husband would not be thrilled to hear his wife speak of him in glowing terms in front of their friends? I know that Andy appreciates hearing me tell our kids and our friends what a great husband he is and just how much I love him. That's foreplay too.
And then there is the great scene where the bride on her own initiates the lovemaking and says to him,
I belong to my lover, and his desire is for me. Come, my lover, let us go to the countryside. Let us spend the night in the villages. Or in other words, honey, let's go to bed early. Sexual intimacy does not always need to start with the husband. God thinks it's a good idea for wives to make the first move sometimes. God is wonderful to make sure and include the fact that intimacy in marriage is a two-way street. I know how great it is to feel wanted, and I certainly want Andy to know that same feeling. Initiating intimacy doesn't only mean our physical connection, but staying emotionally connected as well. We take lots of road trips, and it almost always ends up that our return home is late at night. I am an all-star car sleeper, but I try to take advantage of the couple of hours that Andy and I have together with the kids in the back playing or sleeping to catch up. We talk about everything from work to personal fitness goals. The point is for us to have an opportunity to think about what makes us happy and what we'd like to change in order to be a little happier. We share our concerns about the present and our hopes for the future. These talks help us to stay connected with each other's personal desires and dreams, and we know how to support each other in our marriage after spending that time together.
We know that when we talk of intimacy in marriage, all the guys think of sex, and the women think of just cuddling in front of the fire. And while both of these are really important for a healthy marriage, what we want to talk about now is a deep emotional connectedness between a married man and woman that extends from the intimacy of the bedroom and lasts well beyond it.
And this kind of intimacy is really important and reaches far beyond the limits of physical intimacy. It's the emotional connection which will tend to carry a couple through times of great stress and hardship in their marriage, like busy jobs, the stress of 4 kids and busy schedules, aging parents, and everything that married life brings. We want to end by reading you a story about a marriage that truly withstood the test of time, and how living a godly marriage can have an eternal reward for all of us.
Schmilly. My grandparents were married for over half a century and played their own special game from the time they had met each other. The goal of the game was to write the word Schmilly in a surprise place for the other to find. They took turns leaving Schmilly around the house, and as soon as one of them discovered it, it was their turn to hide it once more. They dragged Schmilly with their fingers through the sugar and flour containers to await whoever was preparing the next meal. They smeared it in the dew on the windows overlooking the patio, where my grandmother always fed us warm pudding with blue food coloring. Schmilly was written in the steam left on the mirror after a hot shower, where it would reappear bath after bath. At one point, my grandmother even unrolled an entire roll of toilet paper to leave Schmilly on the very last sheet. There was no end to the places Schmilly would pop up. Little notes with Schmilly scribbled hurriedly were found on dashboards and car seats, were taped to steering wheels. The notes were stuffed inside shoes and left under pillows. Schmilly was written in the dust upon the mantel and traced in the ashes of the fireplace. The mysterious word was much a part of my grandparents' house as the furniture. It took me a long time before I was able to fully appreciate my grandparents' game. Skepticism has kept me from believing in true love and one that is pure and enduring. However, I never doubted my grandparents' relationship. They had love down pat. It was more than their flirtatious little games, it was a way of life. Their relationship was based on a devotion and passionate affection, which not everyone is lucky to experience. Grandma and Grandpa held hands every chance they could. They stole kisses as they bumped into each other in their tiny kitchen. They finished each other's sentences and shared the daily crossword puzzle and word jumble. My grandma whispered to me how cute my grandpa was, how handsome and old he had grown to be. She claimed that she really knew how to pick him. Before every meal they bowed their heads and gave thanks, marveling at their blessings, a wonderful family, good fortune, and each other. But there was a dark cloud in my grandparents' lives. My grandmother had breast cancer. The disease had first appeared 10 years earlier. As always, Grandpa was with her every step of the way. He comforted her in their yellow room, painted that way so she could always be surrounded by sunshine, even when she was too sick to go outside. Now the cancer was attacking her body. With the help of a cane and my grandfather's steady hand, they went to church every Sunday morning, but my grandmother grew steadily weaker and weaker, until finally she could not leave the house anymore. For a while, Grandpa would go to church alone, praying to God to watch over his wife. Then one day, what we all dreaded finally happened. Grandma was gone. Schmilly. It was scrawled in yellow on the pink ribbons of my grandmother's funeral bouquet. Excuse me. As the crowd thinned and the last mourners turned to leave, my aunts, uncles, cousins, and other family members came forward and gathered around Grandma one last time.
Grandpa stepped up to my grandmother's casket, and taking a shaky breath, he began to sing to her. Through the tears and the grief, the song came, a deep and throaty lullaby. Shaking with my own sorrow, I will never forget that moment. I knew that, although I couldn't begin to fathom the depth of their love, I'd been privileged to witness it and its unmatched beauty. SHMILY. See how much I love you. Thanks, Grandma and Grandpa, for letting me see.